She may not have graduated from college, and as you can see, she might not be much to look at as a sister-in-law, but just think of her as a maid. Incredibly, my sister-in-law introduced me like this to her friend. So, after being called a high school grad by my sister-in-law, now I've been nicknamed a maid. I lowered my gaze to the floor. Then, I could hear the gasp of her friend, the daughter of a company CEO. I am Megan, 36 years old. Currently, I'm a full-time housewife. I used to work part-time at a music store. That's where I met my husband, Tyler, who was a customer. That connection led to our marriage, and now we have a 2-year-old daughter, Amy. My husband runs an IT company with his father. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, Tom and Susan, are lovely people, and we live together. They treat me very well, and despite being part of a wonderful family, there's one problematic person. That would be my sister-in-law, Olivia. Wait, what? You didn't go to college? This was the first thing Olivia said to me when I went to meet her for marriage introductions. No, I didn't. I wanted to start working early. I replied. Wow, there you have it. The grasshopper who only thinks about the short term. Didn't you know that it's common sense that this will lower your lifetime earnings? Or didn't your brain work that way? Oh my. It's true. There are people born with such unfortunate intelligence. And to have one in the family, oh, how embarrassing. She berated me for not completing college right from the start. Since then, she started calling me high school grad. What's cunning is that she never uses this nickname in front of Tom and Susan. She only calls me a high school grad when speaking to me directly. But I couldn't bring myself to tell this to Tom and Susan. I didn't want to share her dark side as their real daughter. As for the background of Olivia, who berates me, she graduated from the prestigious Harrison Women's Academy University. After graduating, she became a banker, truly a proper university and a proper job indeed. From my perspective, having graduated from a proper university and having a proper job, I can't even begin to comprehend your life or your thoughts about it, she would criticize me. It seems she just can't tolerate my very existence. And this mysterious anger also extends to my daughter. This started immediately after I safely gave birth and returned to my in-laws' home. Whenever she heard Amy crying at night, Olivia would barge into my room and say terrible things to me. While I was exhausted from childbirth, crying in the middle of the night shows a total lack of understanding of time, place, and occasion. Make her stop crying. Why don't you put a soundproof mask on her? I finally retorted. Haven't you heard? Crying is a baby's job. What are you even saying? All the babies in diaper commercials are smiling. The fact that she cries without any regard for others is probably due to a genetic problem. A gene lacking in consideration. Making others suffer from lack of sleep. It must be tough having a low-intelligence child from a high school grad mother. Even after Amy was weaned, it was the same. If she fussed about wanting a specific thing, it's so annoying. The demands of a low-intelligence child from a high school grad are just so trivial. She wants to wear only red clothes. What is that? Are you Red Riding Hood or something? It's unbearably noisy. She might as well be eaten by a wolf. Can you believe she said this about her own niece? It's strange that her examples always come from old tales. She didn't stop there. Can't you keep your high school grad brain to yourself? What if it's contagious, she would say, and then, despite it being winter, she'd fling open the windows. To her, high school grad has become a virus. Olivia, who torments me daily using a high school grad as an excuse, decided to invite a friend over one Sunday. I've invited the daughter of the CEO of Ford Refrigeration, a company listed on the New York Stock Exchange, she boasted since the morning. After belittling me endlessly with comments like, someone like you, a mere high school grad, wouldn't have a chance to meet a CEO's daughter. Right? The best you could hope for is knowing a CD vendor. Hilarious, Olivia then said, well, even a high school grad should thoroughly understand her place. I'll introduce you to the CEO's daughter. At least serve some tea, high school grad. For her, having a CEO's daughter as a friend was a direct source of pride. I thought she was the same as ever, but I also thought this might turn out to be interesting. And that afternoon, the CEO's daughter arrived. I only heard greetings at the entrance and then she seemed to head straight to Olivia's room. When I went to another room to get tea and passed by the entrance, I caught a whiff of what must have been her floral perfume. I prepared tea and placed some cookies on a plate, then knocked on the door of Olivia's room, where the two of them were. "Come in," came Olivia's emotionless voice. I announced, "I've brought some tea," as I set down the tea and cookies on the table. While doing so, I could sense Emily, the CEO's daughter, smiling in acknowledgement. Similarly, I could feel Olivia sitting back arrogantly, watching every move of mine with disdain. Then she said, to the CEO's daughter, "You thought she was just a maid, didn't you? This woman. Actually, she's my sister-in-law." Well, I really hesitate to even call her that and honestly don't want to think of her as family. Sorry for the unpleasant sight. She hasn't graduated from college, as you can see, an unsightly sister-in-law, but just think of her as a maid. As she made an introduction that wasn't quite an introduction. After high school grad, now I'm a maid. How she looks down on me. But I raised my face. And then I said to the CEO's daughter, "Emily, it's been a while." "What?" "Megan." The CEO's daughter, Emily, was surprised and confirmed my name. This was bound to happen. Olivia's voice flipped. "You know each other." Emily responded to her. "Know each other? She's my benefactor." The CEO's daughter, Emily. I nodded in affirmation and then told Olivia. I thought it might be her when I heard Ford refrigeration. So, I came to serve tea as told, thinking of showing your true colors to Emily. An important acquaintance of mine. But really, it's been so long. You were still in middle school when we last met. And now you've grown so beautiful. Emily looked at me nostalgically and her cheeks flushed pink, but then her face turned pale. You said, this woman, my benefactor. A maid. Originally pale, Emily's lips turned completely white. Trembling, she muttered with suppressed anger, "That's too cruel, far too cruel." "What do you mean?" Those trembling lips then directed a question at Olivia. "You're mistaken, right? Emily. This person is just a high school grad. It's strange enough that you know her. Let alone her being your benefactor." With a strained smile, Olivia screamed. It seemed as if she was desperately trying to salvage the situation but ended up pushing some strange switch in her mind. The next words were even more disparaging of me. This woman is really brainless. Because she's just a high school grad. Even her child cries all the time. Perhaps regaining her composure, Emily then asked. "Wait, the child I saw in the hallway earlier with a stuffed toy. Isn't it normal for a child that age to cry? You were the same. Weren't you? And you're saying all these terrible things just because Megan is a high school grad?" After saying this, Emily took a deep breath. "The reason I'm working in a job where I use French now is all thanks to this teacher." "What?" Olivia's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? Impossible. There's no way this a high school grad and you have anything in common. This woman. She's just a former music store part-timer. You look down on her just because of those two things? Her job and being a high school grad?" Emily's voice was cold. "Wow." Olivia let out a sound like a squashed frog. "You don't know anything about her though she's family of yours. This person, she has so much more to her." "Emily, what are you talking about? A high school grad's life is just high school graduation, right? Anything after that is just music store clerk, right?" At this point, I, the topic of their conversation, understood best that their conversation was not aligning. I steeled myself. I took a breath, and then I addressed Emily. "It's been a while, how have you been?" I asked Emily in French. She smiled brightly. "Indeed, it's such a delight to see you here." After that, Emily and I continued our conversation in French for about 20 minutes. During this time, Olivia didn't interject. She just kept repeating incoherent sounds like eh, as if they were her only contributions. After about 20 minutes, which seemed like it could go on longer, Olivia finally interjected. "What's going on here?" I immediately challenged her. "Feel free to join our conversation in French." "But, a high school grad." "High school grad, so what?" I asked her. Then, overlapping my words, Emily asked, "Really, does she know anything about you?" Emily asked me, so I responded. I told her, because she looks down on me just for being a high school grad, and like a parrot, that's all she ever says. Emily then said with a shake of her head, "Unbelievable," and declared to Olivia, "This woman is my father's benefactor. I won't allow her to be called just high school grad anymore." Addressing Olivia, who was stunned, Emily said, "It's a story that warms my heart every time I hear it," and began to tell the story of her father and me. My father, when he was in his 30s and already a father, went to France as the son of a company president, staking the future of the company. But back then, even though he's now a dignified figure, he struggled with speaking French. Amidst the pressure and homesickness, he felt his spirit breaking. Then, one day, he stopped by a bar. And there, he met Megan. I added a bit to the story. Just as you said, not thinking ahead was correct. At that time, I wanted to be an internationally recognized musician. Right after high school, I took only one suitcase and flew to France. To avoid regrets later. I want to do what I desire now. I thought about doing things I couldn't do when I thought about the future. And so, I was singing in a bar at night to earn money. That's where I met Emily's father, sitting alone, tears in his eyes, holding a glass of alcohol. I often met people like that in that country. People like me, who had decided on their own to chase big dreams, and those like Emily's father, who were sent under the weight of others' fates. France is that kind of country. And it's a country where many are overwhelmed and crushed by that lonely sea. Emily continued. And then, Megan sang to my father. The famous "A Stand By Me" changed to "A Stand By You." My father never forgot about that night. Even though he was lonely, a young American girl he met there sang for him. He felt like he wasn't alone. He talked a lot with Megan that night. He was inspired by her courage to move to France with just one suitcase. And even though she didn't speak French well, she learned by listening to songs and speaking French more enjoyably. After that, they kept in touch as friends for 15 years, and even now, they still exchange Christmas cards. Well, I returned to America after my dreams didn't work out. But I wanted to stay connected to music, so I worked at a music store. I interjected, somewhat embarrassed. But I think it's very much like Megan to continue wanting to be involved with music. Emily said, smiling at my interjection, and continued. So, when I started middle school and struggled with French right away, saying, "I can't understand French, it's not fun," my father said. "I know someone who can make French fun, I'll introduce her to you as a tutor." And that person was Megan, who had returned to America. She played lots of French songs for me, teaching me easy to understand songs. It was fun to hear French through songs, making me want to know more. Edith Piaf's La Vie en Rose, Jacques Brel's Ne me quitte pas, they are still the foundation for me. To think such a benefactor to my father and me, to dismiss her just as a high school grad, really. After pausing for a moment, Emily spoke again. Turning to Olivia, she spat out, "I despise it." "What?" Olivia trembled at her words. Wait a minute, Emily. No, waits. Emily was resolute. But, you're in trouble now, aren't you? Emily's tone was cold. You got your job by saying, "I'm friends with Emily," didn't you? What? This was my turn to be surprised. But Emily couldn't stop anymore. Olivia looked at Emily with pleading eyes. That's right, so. Not just that's right, is it? Emily's gaze was cold. And then Emily continued speaking. Also, you went to Ashwood Girls Academy on an escalator system, right? That's fine. But while everyone was acquiring qualifications and improving themselves, you did nothing. All you ever said was, "I'm a Ashwood thoroughbred from kindergarten." When I heard this, it all made sense. Sighing, I picked up where Emily left off. It's true what they say, those who have the least often disparage others the most. You've been calling me a high school grad and unfortunate intelligence, but I can't think of anyone more unfortunate than you. Having been looked down upon by me, Olivia bit her lip in frustration. But it seemed she couldn't stand being told off by me. But, you didn't study either, did you? She barked at me again, unwilling to let go. It seems she can't rest until she feels superior. Megan has a DALF C2 proficiency certificate, you know? Emily chimed in from the side. What? Olivia almost fell off her chair in shock. It reminded me of an old talk show with newlyweds, where the host would fall off his chair. However, the chair Olivia was sitting on wasn't the kind that collapses. Initially, my mother opposed having Megan as a tutor, saying, if she's going to tutor my daughter, she needs proper qualifications. So, Megan quickly got the certificate, Emily explained. Well, I mean, since I was already conversing locally, it's not something I can boast about having achieved, I said, scratching my head. Emily then told me, it's an amazing accomplishment, before turning to Olivia, who was slumped on the floor. Megan actually acquired it. It's wrong for a have-not to mock and belittle others as uneducated. It was the happiest thing to reunite with my teacher, Emily continued. Then she started getting ready to leave. Our connection ends here. I'll be telling my father about what happened today. Olivia crawled up from the floor and slinked over to Emily's knees. Wait, Emily, that's... Emily shook her off. Sorry, but I no longer have any obligation to stay silent. You'll enjoy the boomerang effect when this story reaches the bank branch manager too. Tyler rushed up the stairs, knocking on the door, alarmed by the noise. What happened? Did something break? I opened the door. He entered but was speechless at the sight of Olivia crawling on the floor. What are you doing? He asked in disbelief. Tyler, speechless at the scene, asked a question. At this point, there was no use in hiding anything anymore. I told him about being treated as a high school grad, the subsequent bullying of my daughter, and how everything came to light with the arrival of Emily, my former student and the CEO's daughter. Tyler was silent throughout, then said, crying is normal for children, echoing Emily's sentiment. I fell in love with Megan for her vast knowledge gained from living abroad. Haven't you ever talked to her? You'd realize her wisdom if you had a slight conversation. To look down on her as just a high school grad and miss out on her intelligence. That's truly pitiful. Wisdom in people isn't always measured by test scores. There's a different kind of smartness in being human. And in that regard, you should realize that you're at the bottom. He thrust these final words at Olivia. Emily then left the room. Soon, Susan, astonished, came in, having heard the commotion. Emily explained everything to her. Susan was shocked by the unexpected news, but my daughter, Amy, chimed in, Aunt Olivia always calls Mom high school grad. Nice move, Amy. Tom and Susan, who were usually mild-mannered, were furious upon hearing this. They stormed into Olivia's room, shouting, "Get out!" Olivia wasn't just kicked out from the house. She also left the company. She voluntarily resigned from her job. After the branch manager mentioned, I heard about that story. Subsequently, Olivia struggled to find new work and moved to an area with lower living costs, but she apparently still hasn't found a job. Given her lack of significant achievements or qualifications, her high pride would likely diminish her value in the job market. To my surprise, Olivia asked Emily, "Please forgive me. And please arrange for me to work again." Emily apparently refused, but then Olivia asked her, "At least lend me some money." After a while, Emily got engaged. "I received a request, I would like you to sing a song at the reception. It's also my father's wish." I agreed, smiling, "I'll make a parody of a Stand By Us for the occasion."